Good morning, everybody. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn.
Yeah.
Good morning, Victoria.
Morning.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Not a problem.
Good morning, Brian and Jenny.
Yeah,
Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning.
Who else am I missing? Okay.
Right,
There's more people joining in this morning, so we've started the recording already. Good morning, Nadal. She's connecting to audio.
Yeah. Oh, get me set up.
Good morning, Nadal. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, there's more people coming into the waiting room, so I'm just going to admit them. We've got about 2 more minutes before we start, so we're still good to go.
Okay.
Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Nadal. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Perfect. Brilliant.
Mute. Okay.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi.
How are you?
I haven't got my camera on. I've got to shift everything if I want to.
That's fine. Not a problem. Just wanted to see if you can hear us. That's all.
No, I can hear. That's fine.
Wonderful. Perfect. It's so good to have a lot of us online, actually. There were a few people that were joining us today, but seems that after another separate invite was sent yesterday, Victoria, more people have wanted to join, so that's absolutely fine. And they are so welcome to join us as we go throughout this session. But yeah, I just wanted to say a huge thank you and a welcome to Victoria, who is the nurse coordinator. Is that correct, Victoria, for the Bowel Cancer in New Zealand? So welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today and for sharing all your wonderful knowledge with us around bowel cancer, screening for bowel cancer, prevention in bowel cancer as well. So welcome. And I'm going to hand it over to you. So I asked that maybe we can all mute our sides so that we can hear Victoria clearly. But yeah, also good morning, Kimmy. Can you hear us, Kimmy? Okay, we'll get started. Thank you, Victoria. Go for it.
Kia ora koutou. Thanks so much for the invite. I will just preface this very quickly by saying I apologise now. I am getting over the worst head cold I've had for years. So my voice does go a little bit kind of like, I sound like a young teenage boy who's going through puberty from time to time, and I apologise now. If you do have questions, please interrupt me throughout. Otherwise, there's going to be plenty of time at the end if any of you have any questions about anything. So I do have a presentation which has got some slides that gives you a bit of an overview of kind of where New Zealand is, what bowel cancer actually is and how it kind of develops and all of that kind of thing, as well as a little bit about who we are. I think that's back to front, isn't it? Oh, never mind. You'll all have to read backwards for this morning. So I hopefully can share my screen. So if you can just, let me, I think if you put me as co-host, I should be able to share. It's not. I'll make it up as I go along because I'm quite good at that too.
You should know we should be able to definitely share screen. I'm just trying to figure this out.
Okay. If you go to participants and click on my name, you should be able to put me as a co-host.
Oh, there it is. I've just brought it up now.
There you go.
Okay, so
I've had to do this.
Make host.
Yeah.
No, I was just trying to get it to the right settings, but I was like, what's going on? So
Yep.
I'll just make you the host, Victoria, and then you can share your screen with us.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Oh, no, it's still disabled. Okay. And now, bear with, please bear with. There we go. We want that one and that one. So hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes, perfect.
I love it when technology works, because sometimes myself and technology don't work very well together. But anyway, let's just kind of dive on into it about what bowel cancer is and kind of where we're up to and all of those other things. Like I say, yell out if there's any questions as we go through. Otherwise, I can do them at the end, no problem. So the facts and stats are just a little bit daunting when you look at it. The most recent statistics that have come out of the Cancer Control Agency are saying that there's around about 3,400 people that are diagnosed in New Zealand in the 2022 year. So that's a lot. And around about 1,300 people die. Now, if you want to put that into context, that 1,300 people are around about the same number as for breast and prostate combined for deaths, not for diagnosis, for deaths. So it's a big number. Around about 1 in 10 people are under the age of 50. And Māori and Pacifica are often diagnosed at a much more advanced stage at an earlier age. And there is the government-run screening program, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail as we kind of work our way through. These are some statistics that have come out from a registry that captures both Australia and New Zealand statistics. The average age for those being diagnosed is around about 68. So it is still within that kind of no longer 21-year-old age group. And, you know, there are a reasonable proportion that are still being diagnosed at a reasonably early stage, so that kind of stage 1 or stage 2, which is very treatable and beatable.
Yeah.
So recently we ran a bit of a symptom checker, and we asked people what it was that they noticed about, you know, kind of symptoms and what was it that took them to the doctor. Now, these are in the list that it came through. And interestingly enough, it's the changes that took people to their GP most frequently. So that comes down to, 1, knowing what your normal is so that you know when it's not normal. So not normal can be more frequent, it can be less frequent, it can be a different shape, a different size, a different smell, and a different colour. So it's kind of knowing what's normal for you, which it may just mean you need to have a quick look every now and then to see what's actually coming out. The most least often, that was very bad English, and I do apologise for that, was actually the bleeding. And I think a lot of people will often put bleeding from the bottom down to things like hemorrhoids, or if you've been constipated, sometimes you can have a little bit of bleeding when you're constipated because it's kind of a bit of an effort to get it out. So a lot of people will put that bleeding down to something else, but it's absolutely something that needs to be looked into. General fatigue, it's that tired that doesn't get better when you've had a rest or had a sleep. It's kind of always there. So those are kind of the things that are taking most people to their doctors. Age can make a difference around symptoms in particular. For our younger cohort, sometimes they will often report that they just didn't have any symptoms, that there was kind of nothing. They were a little bit tired, but they're really busy, running around after kids. If I look at my daughter, my gosh, she's got 3 kids. She's, strewn in 3 places over the weekend kind of thing. And for a lot of young people, it's also just kind of a gut feeling, something's not right. And that's kind of what makes them think something needs to be looked into. For those that are within that little bit older age group, it's often the positive fit kit. Now, those are the tests that are sent out as part of the National Bowel Screening Program. And those tests are often what it is that will take people and, kind of get that diagnosis for someone that's within that age range. So it's, you know, it's kind of doing the test, it comes back positive, and that's when you go for the further testing and things like that. Again, even for a lot of our, you know, slightly older cohort, there still might not be any other symptoms. You know, they're fit, they're healthy, they're carrying on with life. You know, I had the most beautiful gentleman ring me yesterday in his 80s, who was diagnosed fairly recently, and he said, look, I'm fit, I'm healthy. You know, it just was an accidental finding. So, you know, there can be that for both age groups. Please excuse me. So, bowel cancer, what is it? Basically, it starts as a non-cancerous growth. Generally speaking, these are just little polyps. There's two different types, and I hope none of you have got squeamish stomachs, because I have some pictures on my next slide of what they actually look like. Now, there's a certain type of polyp that, if it's left untreated, can turn into bowel cancer. Now, you've got to take into mind that if you look at that last point, it's generally between 5 and 10 years for a polyp to develop and then become cancerous. So it's a long time frame, generally speaking. It's not something that generally happens overnight or very quickly. It can be growing and developing and changing for a number of years. So, like I said, hope none of you are squeamish, because here we go. I have warned you. You can turn your cameras off if you don't want to see the next one, but it's kind of interesting because we don't get to see inside our bowels very often. So, you know, it's one of those things. So up the top there, we have what, you know, looks like a normal colon. Now, these are taken during colonoscopies. So a normal colon, it's pink, it's healthy, it's moist, it's got a few ridges that kind of, you know, help with the absorption. It's a really nice, healthy kind of place, good blood flow and all the rest of it. One of the types of polyps are called a sessile polyp, and these are quite flat. They're a little bit like when you first start getting a pimple on the side of your face. We all remember pimples from when we were younger. And I think there should be an age limit when they stop developing. But anyway, so they're quite kind of flat to the surface. They can be much harder to detect during a colonoscopy. And so your endoscopist has to be really, really vigilant when they're doing their checking to make sure that they don't overlook them. The other ones are called a pedunculated polyp, and I just like saying pedunculated, to be quite honest. I think it's a really cool word and one we should put in our vocabulary more often. These ones look much more like kind of mushrooms on a stalk. So they can either hang down or come up. You know, a bit like stalactites or stalagmites when you're in a cave. And they can be quite big. They can grow up to a couple of centimetres, which you can imagine would cause some obstruction as things are kind of passing their way through. So they can get to be, you know, pretty big. The bottom slide there is what a bowel cancer tumour can look like. They can look a little bit like a head of cauliflower. For want of a better description. You know, they're often kind of irregular shapes and irregular surface structure and things like that. Again, they can range in size from, you know, a couple of millimeters right the way through to a couple of centimeters. And when you kind of think that your bowel is kind of the circumference of sort of an old sort of 20 to 50 cent piece, so you know, that kind of size. Back in the good old days when we had 50-cent coins, it's kind of at rest around about that size. So you can imagine that if you've got something growing in and along there, then it can be, you know, a bit of a nuisance. Brian, did you have a question there?
Yes. You say they only grow up to that size. I had one, and I had an ileostomy and all the rest of it. But the surgeons said mine was nearly as big as an egg.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is rather large. So, you know, but I had no symptoms.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, I have heard of some people saying they've had them the size of, like you say, eggs or, you know, big mandarins and that kind of thing. So they can get quite big. Your bowel is quite elastic. Mm-hmm. It has to be, you know. It has to be able to kind of give and take quite a bit as stuff goes through it. So, you know, you can imagine it's a bit like anything else that gets stretched over time. You know, if you've got a big growth in there and things are trying to get around it, you know, it will cause, it can cause problems.
Because my surgeon showed me these pictures of mine, you know. He said, "You're not squeamish, are you?" And he showed them to me as he was doing them. Oh, it's lovely. I got on well with him. Yeah.
You know, they're quite, for me, they're really interesting, but then I've been a nurse my whole life. So,
Yes.
you know, this kind of thing is really interesting for me. Some people look at them and go, oh, I don't know what anything about that, but that's okay. But yeah, no, exercises.
He had taken the film and the camera inside, and he turned the television round to me after he'd done the colonoscopy and showed me.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, you're very brave to have watched that, young man.
Thank you.
So yeah, so they can get to be, you know, pretty large. So please excuse me. Oh, should have brought the tissues a little bit closer to me. So there are some risk factors that we do know about. I mean, some we can do something about, some we can't. We can't do anything about how old we are. We can't do anything about our family history. And we can't do anything about, you know, some of our, you know, bowel conditions and hereditaries and things like that. Any sort of inflammatory bowel conditions can increase your risk because, as you can imagine, a bowel that's already distressed, you know, can kind of get these tumours developing a little bit quicker. There's environmental things. We've all heard the risks around diet, the sedentary lifestyle that more and more of us are doing as I sit here quite comfortably at my desk, and those kind of things. There's also a couple of genetic ones, the most common one being Lynch syndrome, which is actually a group of cancers which encompasses not just colon cancer, but it can do any of those kind of pelvic cancers. So for women, ovarian and uterine as well. It also affects melanomas, certain types of skin cancer, and can also be the brain. So there's a raft of cancers within that kind of Lynch syndrome. And Isa, can I just ask that you mute your screen, please? I can just hear someone talking in the background. Thank you. I suppose the really good news about bowel cancer, because there is good news in amongst all of that, is that when it's caught early, so at those really early stages, so precancerous polyps that have just started to turn, or at those stage 1 and stage 2, it's over 90% treatable. That means they can either surgically remove it and you're clear, or you can have surgery, a little bit of what they call mop-up chemotherapy, and you're done and dusted, and that's it. So it's a very treatable cancer when it's caught early.
Can I say again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Mine, as I said, was rather large when they found it. I had no symptoms at all, but I've had major operations and all the rest of it, and I have been cancer-free for 18 months now. Yes. It's, you know, the blood tests, I still have blood tests every 3 months now, and it's coming up, no cancer, no cancer, no cancer, you know, which is good.
That's
brilliant. It is treatable at a later stage, even when it's a lot bigger.
It can be, yeah, but it is much easier when it's caught earlier. So how do we do that in New Zealand? We are a little bit unique in how we treat bowel cancer. However, that's another story for another day, but this is what we do within New Zealand. So here our options include surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and then there's the new immune and targeted therapies that are also slowly kind of being out there. And it just depends, you know, what stage your tumours are and what kind of the intent of treatment actually is as to what's chosen for who. So early stage bowel cancer, so these are the ones where it's still contained within the bowel, it hasn't spread anywhere else, it is a tumour sitting purely and simply within the bowel. It hasn't gone to lymph nodes or anywhere else. So basically it's just surgery, and it will depend on the size of the tumour as to the type of surgery and also where the tumour is, as to what kind of surgery you might have. Some people might have a temporary bag afterwards. Some people might have a permanent bag, and it all just depends on what's kind of going on. Occasionally, for some of them, if it is a really big tumour, there may well be some what they call adjuvant chemotherapy, which is mop-up. So it's just in case they nicked something or they didn't, they think that maybe a couple of cells might have escaped. And so they want to make sure that those cells don't land anywhere and start procreating. For those later stages, so very late stage 3 and stage 4, where it's actually gone into lymph nodes, into your kind of tummy and the bits that surround your tummy, so that peritoneal area, or if it's gone to your lungs or liver, that is where it starts getting a bit more complicated, and it's generally a mixture that you're going to be offered. You might, depending where the tumour is, for example, for rectal cancers, you might have radiation first to try and shrink the tumour, then you might have surgery, and then you might have chemotherapy after that. And amongst all of that, as Brian has absolutely said, there's scans, there's blood tests, there's all sorts of things that go on in amongst all of that to make sure that they know what's happening, where it's happening, and what they need to do next. So these are the current funded medications and drugs that we have in New Zealand. Now, I'm really bad at pronouncing these names. I am not an oncology nurse. My background is in palliative care, so I'm going to use their abbreviations because I know how to say those. So the most common tend to be the Folfox and Folfuri, the two that are used most often as far as chemo goes. They do have side effects, which I'll go into very shortly. And then there's other variations amongst those that can be given. And it's just kind of either adding an extra component in or swapping a component, as you can see. So the most common side effects, and this is pretty much for most chemotherapies, so particularly for bowel, there's going to be either diarrhea or constipation. It's generally one or the other. With chemotherapy. The neuropathy is where nerves get damaged, particularly in your peripheral. So your fingers, your hands, your toes and feet tend to be the worst. The other one that a lot of patients come up with is this inability to tolerate cold. And that's they can't drink cold fluids. They can't touch anything cold. They can't, kind of cold winds will do it. So you'll often see them, even in summer, if there's a breeze, with scarves and hats and things like that on, because it can be so bad that it will actually stop them from breathing.
Can I say
Brian?
something? I'm the opposite. I can't drink hot anymore.
Oh, no coffee.
Well, I drink cold coffee. It's lovely.
Oh, it's not quite the same.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I'm the opposite. Sorry. Carry on.
But yeah, it's one of those things. And for women, particularly some of our younger women, some of the chemotherapy can actually, kind of put them into a type of early menopause, which, as you can imagine, is not necessarily all that pleasant when you're a young woman going through that. So I put out a post to our members on our Facebook page and said, how do you deal with these? And I had this list that was a mile long. So these are not necessarily medically endorsed. What they are is patient endorsed. So these are just some of the tips and tricks that, patients have kind of come up with. And the biggest one is take the medication when you need to take the medication, whether that's laxatives, whether it's loperamide and metamucil to try and kind of firm things up, whether that's antiemetics, which is the ones that stop the nausea, whether it's the pain relief, whatever it is you need to take it. You won't get addicted. You need it because your body needs to cope with the chemotherapy and everything that's running around in it. So that was their biggest thing. Take the medication. Rest was their next one. If your body says rest, rest. Oh, I've got a typo. I need to fix that. chemotherapy is exhausting. It's not just the actual drugs itself, it's the getting to, and it's the getting home, and it's the travel that's involved in it. And it's also the mental stuff that goes with having chemotherapy and things like that. So if you need to rest. And then talk to your team. If you've got symptoms and they're starting to impact on your life, talk to your team, because they can alter doses and they can make quick changes and give you new prescriptions that might be able to help you out and get you through them much better. The targeted therapies that we have coming through now, these are really specific drugs. Currently, none of them are funded in New Zealand for bowel cancer. Some of them are funded for other cancers. For example, Keytruda is funded for lung cancer and for melanoma. However, it's also very effective for stage 4, some people with stage 4 bowel cancer. So we're working on that. And they are there as a kind of a second or third line treatment for those that have got cancers that have spread throughout other parts of their bodies. So, drum roll. The new and bright and shining stuff that's coming up. So there has been some changes to the National Bowel Screening Program. There is talk of further changes to the National Bowel Screening Program, having just sat in on a parliamentary committee to do with this. There has been pledges from the national government to lower the screening age. It's not going to happen quickly. So, yeah, we have a slow rollout for, Māori and Pacifica to be screened a little bit younger. And there's more media attention nowadays. We've got a lot of research going into microbiomes in the gut. We've got some canine sniffer dogs, which are the cutest little things that are learning how to pick up certain things within urine samples that may indicate that you've got bowel cancer. And we're also working with a company to get an advanced self-test that you can do at home. So I'm just going to get all of these up and hope I don't go one too many. Oh, I did. Let's go back. There we go. Okay. Screening kits. I'll get onto those in a minute. If you come back with a negative screening, that's great. What it does show is that there's no blood in your stool. The FIT kits aren't there to tell you if there's cancer or not. They are there simply to say if there's blood or not. And it cannot tell you where that blood might be coming from. And if you have a tumour or a polyp that's not bleeding, it's not going to pick that up. Just like a positive FIT doesn't necessarily mean you've got bowel cancer. It just means there was blood detected, which could be from multiple reasons. With a positive test, you will go and have a colonoscopy done. That is the next step in the process. They want to find out what it is that's actually going on. If you've got a family history, and it depends on how strong that family history is, there is an organisation in New Zealand with a name that they really need to fix. It's the New Zealand Familial Gastrointestinal Cancer Services. It's not easy to spell either, and they can give you some really good information about how you can get screened if you've got a strong family history of bowel cancer. Getting a second opinion is as simple as asking your current team to put a referral through so that you can have a second opinion done. Bowel cancer, it's in and of itself, doesn't show up in a blood test. Occasionally there are markers that may change, but it's not for everybody and it's not definitive. I've had people who've had stage 4 bowel cancer and their markers have remained normal the entire time, even through treatment. So it's not something that you can necessarily pick up. However, they are working on getting a blood test that will start to pick up some of these genetic things that might be going on. So it's in process, but at the moment, there's nothing definitive that a blood test will show. Support, we'll get onto that very soon when I get to that bit. And I think with supporting somebody, one of the big things is, just kind of being there for them, making sure that you find out what it is that they need the way they need it. Turning up to somebody's place with 40 dinners is amazing, but if they don't have freezer space, you can imagine what's probably going to happen to some of those dinners. So ask, see what people want. Who are we? This will be really quick. So in 2010, a group of survivors and carers got together to actually form the charity. So because there was nothing else before that where there was anyone advocating within, for patients within the bowel cancer space, despite it being the second biggest cancer killer in New Zealand. So we're still very much focused on that kind of patient-centred advocacy and support, as well as doing work into education like these, advocacy, research, and all sorts of other things. So, we want to make sure that this is something that I'd love to be done out of a job because, the prevention is there, the colonoscopies are there, the screening is there, and I don't need my job anymore. However, we're a wee way away from that just yet. So we are able to provide free physiotherapy for patients. We have counselling for patients and their immediate caregivers. And we've got one-off vouchers for either groceries or petrol that we're also able to send out to people. Huge online support. A lot of the support that I do, of course, is virtual, and helping people out, email, chat, all those kind of things, phone, all the rest of it. And we also have a heap of resources on our website. So pretty much anything you want to know, you can find within our website. The information that we have on there, we make sure that our medical people have had a look through it to make sure it's up to date and it's correct for New Zealand. So we've got 2 big campaigns. The next one in June is the Get Off Your Butt, and it's around symptom awareness. So that's, thank you, Ninua. This is kind of where this sits, is raising that awareness around, kind of bowel cancer and what it is. Awesome. And those kind of things. So perfectly timed because we're only a few days away from June now. And so you'll see us everywhere. We'll be on the back of buses, there'll be billboards, we'll be in behind the toilet doors in malls and all sorts of things. So you'll see us and hear us on the radio and hopefully all over the place as well. So do keep an eye out, and you can now go, oh, I know about that. So yeah. We also work really heavily, I tend to do a lot of work within the education space. Tailoring education for groups, whether that's community, whether that's businesses, whether it's corporates, GPs, all of those kind of things. I will specifically kind of put information together for people, depending on what it is that their needs actually are. We're doing a lot of work within the advocacy space at the moment around lowering the screening age, and also access to medications. Currently, New Zealand sits really badly as far as access to modern medicines is concerned, with a lot of the other OECD countries well above us in what it is that they fund and have available for people. So we're working really hard to try and get that availability for New Zealand. We don't think it should be up to whether or not you can find the finances or run a Give a Little page just so that you can have treatments done to extend your life. So we're working on that one. And then we work alongside some really trusted organisations to, kind of help fund their research to make sure that, bowel cancer is not left behind, that it doesn't become the poor cousin to breast and prostate and melanoma and lung. So we are a charity. We do rely on the generosity of our community. We have some amazing sponsors, and we have a a truly outstanding lady who gets the most amazing grants and things for us. So, you know, we do have that. We also have some other bits and pieces that we run in and along. And this is kind of what it looks like in picture form. So at the moment, there's a young lady down the bottom in the middle there who is Joanna, and she is currently riding, as we speak, from Darwin to Melbourne.
Wow.
Across the central part of Australia, pretty much non-stop. She's cycling for about 18 to 20 hours a day to raise awareness and raise funds, and she is quite mad to be doing that. Was it last year or the year before she rode from Cape Reinga all the way down to Bluff in New Zealand to also do a similar kind of thing. So you can follow her if you like to. Her name's Joanna Sharp, and she's doing some amazing work out there. But she's already clocked off just over 1,000 kilometres. So she's going to have one very sore saddle butt.
Victoria, I'm so sorry. If I could just make mention of something. I don't know, on my screen it's saying that we've got less than a minute left on the Zoom, but my colleague has made it so that it is ongoing. If it does end for any reason, can I just ask that we all sign back in again? I do apologize. It shouldn't end though, but just letting you all know. Sorry, I do apologize about that.
Something did pop up and I went, oh yeah, and clicked it off my screen. So
it shouldn't end though, because I do have the full rights to the Zoom. So if it does, just letting you all know, just log back in and I'll admit you all again.
Perfect. No, all good. I did, like I said, I did see something pop up and I just...
Can we all hear each other again?
Yes, thank you.
I do apologize about that. That should have not happened.
Oh, well, no.
Victoria, I'll just make you the host again. Victoria, are you able to, you can hear me?
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Fancy being kicked out of my own meeting.
I apologize about that. That should have not happened.
All good, all good, all good. Sometimes it depends which license you do the Zoom thing on is what I found, but you know.
I do have full access to it actually, because I've just had a look, so I don't know why it's cut it out again.
You know, Zoom, it's great. I think there's only a few more slides anyway, so we should be good now.
Awesome. I did want to ask another quick question though, Victoria, with regards to the like if you were in the younger age bracket, right, and you did feel like something was off, if you did go to your GP to ask for like a test, are they able to give that to you even though you're in the younger like age group?
I was hoping nobody would ask. No. Is the very short answer to that.
Okay.
If you sit outside of the ages for the bowel screening, which is between 60 and 74 for the general population, there currently aren't kits available in New Zealand. There was some of us that were stocking a kit. However, it had to be sent back to Australia and there was just ongoing issues. Lockdown didn't help. And even after all of that, we just couldn't guarantee getting them to Australia in time. And then the lab just said, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're only doing the ones from Australia. So this is why we've been working with a local laboratory and a company to marry them together to get an advanced kit that people will be able to purchase when they sit outside. So that's
perfect.
the younger cohort and the older cohort, because we realise there's a cut-off age. So right up until the day before your 75th birthday, you can still access a kit through the National Screening Program. After that, you can't.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's a really big thing to not have anything kind of either end.
Yeah.
So your GP can organise stool samples under certain circumstances.
Okay.
But then it's not as easy as just going into your GP and going, I want a stool sample done because I want a stool sample done.
The only reason why I ask is because my husband, like for the past maybe year and a bit, he just had like a lot of like, how do I say it? Like it was like gut problems, kind of like digestive problems. And sometimes like with the symptoms, like when you went over the bowel cancer, like symptoms and things like that, they were so extremely similar to other, to other how do I say this, to other like problems that we just thought maybe it would be worth to get like a test done. But like, yeah, every time we would go into our GP and kind of like raise that concern, it was, oh, unfortunately you don't meet the age gap, so here's a blood test instead. But I just feel like it's so important because like you're saying, it can happen at a much younger age. It will be so great to have like a specific test for that younger age group. Because yeah, his symptoms were just so similar to what you explained, like the fatigue, the weight loss, the nausea. It was yeah, but eventually we got to the problem and it was all okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm pleased. I'm pleased to hear that you got to the bottom of that. But yeah, it is one of those things. And I work quite closely with GPs to kind of just raise that awareness because the growth part of this is in that younger cohort. There's more and more within that age group, under 50 that are being diagnosed. Those 60 and over, the numbers are relatively stable at the moment. And that's kind of worldwide. It's not just a New Zealand phenomenon that, younger people are being diagnosed. And it's not just bowel cancer. Younger people are being diagnosed with all cancers. Previous cancers that were always thought, were for, a certain age group or whatever. Prostate's another really, really, really good example of how there's more and more young men also being, kind of diagnosed with that. But we are working to get the kit. I had an email from the lab yesterday saying that they're hoping next week we'll have news, which would be perfect timing. But they're just going through the last of their validation processes. So we will let everybody know once they're available. So yeah. Let's hope this. Oh, now my screen's frozen. Please don't freeze on my screen.
Thank you for that, Victoria.
No worries. I know it's kind of it's a really difficult one to do for younger people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of some of the stuff that we do, just kind of in picture form. This was the presentation of a petition to Parliament. In the middle there at the top to lower the screening age. Greg O'Connor, I think, is the gentleman that's received it. He was actually diagnosed age 48 with bowel cancer, so it's something that's quite close to his heart. But look at him, he's doing brilliantly well now, so yay, go him. So yeah, this is kind of where we are at the moment. And this is our team. This is us. This is our nationwide charity team. You can see that we're quite small, compact. We all work remotely, so money that's raised for us doesn't go into brick and stone buildings or any of those kind of overheads. We all work remotely from home, which keeps our costs down and means that the money that we do get goes into the programs and it goes into the research and it goes into the advocacy and things like that, which is incredibly important as far as we're concerned. So Rebecca is our general manager, long history within the not-for-profit section, and just a font of all things amazingness. Mary does all of our communications and campaigns managing. She is actually a bowel cancer survivor. She was diagnosed very young, in her mid-20s, after her first son was born. She's also gone on to have 2 further children, but it was also discovered that her family has Lynch syndrome. So Mary's very open about that. You can read her story, and she's quite happy to talk about it as well. Me, you can see my hair has changed colour, and it will probably change colour again, but that's kind of what we do. Jo Morgan does our grants. She is amazing at being able to get us grants that help us with all of our administration, so things like wages and all of that background stuff that we need. Odessa, oh my gosh, without Odessa, I think we would all fall down in a heap. She does a lot of our administration work. She's also does all of our finances and makes sure that I put all of my receipts in so that we have good accountability. Sheena Revington is recently on board as our long-term bequests and donor manager. So anyone that's into regular giving, wanting to leave a request, and any of those other things, Sheena is the port of call for that. And then our young'un, as we call young Bella, has recently also come on, and she does our socials for us. She also looks after all of our fundraisers, calling them all individually and making sure they're okay and they've got everything they need and all of that kind of thing. So she does an amazing work within kind of keeping our socials looking, hip and young and vibrant so that we're reaching the right people, and also kind of looking after those people that are looking after us. So she's
small team, but a very busy team.
A very busy team.
I can imagine.
And seemingly more busy this year than we've ever been. I've been with the organisation for 3.5 years now, and it's just kind of built and built and built and built and built. So that's brilliant. Yeah. They are an amazing bunch. We also have a group of medical advisors that we call on for comment, to look over resources, to make sure that we've got the best information for people, and to make sure that everything that we're doing has that good medical basis for it, so that we know that we're giving the right information. We have a board of trustees. Again, most of the board have either cared for someone with bowel cancer or have had bowel cancer themselves. So they're very kind of engaged and very involved, and kind of know the scene out there and want to kind of be with that. So we do have some very good people in and around us that we can call on for all sorts of things. So just to kind of wrap up, this is how you can get hold of me. I do only work part-time. I'm quite happy with my part-time hours. I'm far too old nowadays to be working 90 hours a week. So I'm quite happy with what I'm doing. And that's kind of how you can get hold of me at any time. If you forget anything, you can go to bowelcancernz.org.nz. All of my contact details are there. The chats are there. All of the information's there. You can just click on that and it will take you to whatever you need. And just to run over those symptoms again for you. So things to be looking out for. Things like a change to your normal. So whatever your normal is, if that changes for any length of time, we're all going to go through phases where we have a day or two where things are just not right. Particularly if you've been traveling, not sleeping well, or you've eaten a dodgy curry. So if it goes on for a couple of weeks, those changes to the normal. Abdominal pains, really sharp kind of pains. They can be quite intermittent. This is the problem, is that they can come on really suddenly, and it's almost like that colic, griping kind of pain that you can sometimes get. If you notice any lumps and bumps, while you're kind of rubbing your tummy because it's a bit sore or anything like that, bleeding, any sort of bleeding that you've got from your bottom needs to be checked. There may be a number of benign reasons for bleeding, but it needs to be looked into to find out whatever's actually going on. The other thing to look for is things like tiredness and fatigue that is not kind of better after you've had a sleep and a rest, and signs of what we medicos call anemia, so that, when you've got low iron levels, and you can get a little bit short of breath, you can get restless leg syndrome, you can be overly tired, and there's a whole lot of things that you just kind of feel if you're anemic and you've got low iron levels. So those are kind of things that we want people to be looking for. And just, I think the other thing is, if you feel like it's not right, potentially it isn't. We know our bodies better than anybody else. We've lived with them for quite some time. So we know what's right for us and we know what's wrong for us. If you feel like something isn't quite right, then you probably need to have that kind of looked into, and have a chat with your GP. Don't take no for an answer. Don't take your age as being, an answer. Oh, you're too young, you're too this, you're too fit, you're too whatever. If you think something's not right, have a chat with your GP and don't take no for an answer.
Absolutely. And I think, if anything, Victoria, what I've learned from your session today is like advocacy, and especially like with my husband's experience, it was just so not normal, like the symptoms that he was having, that I just could not take no for an answer. Like it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? No, we're going to go see a specialist. We're going to get some reassurance, even if it means we pay. That's absolutely fine. This is why we work, to be able to have a good and fulfilling life. And it was until actually, we saw the specialist that we were just given some peace of mind and some reassurance, because the more we were going to our GP, the more it was just the same things that were being told, that were being repeated. And you're so absolutely right, like regardless of age, because he was having all those symptoms, it's just so important to just advocate for yourself as well. And you're definitely right when you said, it doesn't matter of age, regardless, just go and have a talk to someone.
Yeah. And just kind of don't be put off. I mean, it's not dinner time conversation, let's face it. Bowels and poop are not topics that we talk about all the time. Well, I mean, I do, that's all I do all day. And nurses are very good at asking how are your bowels actually going and things like that. But it isn't a conversation that we naturally kind of work our way into. So, but it is a conversation that we need to be happening. One of our amazing ambassadors has said, nobody dies of embarrassment, but unfortunately people do die of bowel cancer. So don't be embarrassed. Your GP will have seen, heard, talked about, and been involved in the whole thing more than once. So, it needs to be something that is part of what we're actually talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other questions for Victoria, anyone? Before we let her off, because we're sure she's busy, but while we've got her.
Can I go first or no? Yeah. Just a simple one. Where do we find you to come and chat or something like that?
Well, unless you live in Wanganui, my lovely, seeing me is either this kind of way, or get on the phone and give me a call, are probably the easiest ways to get hold of me. If you are down this way and you want to have a coffee, I am always up for a coffee somewhere. I will drink coffee with you. So yeah, that would be brilliant. But if you happen to be in other parts of the country, then probably the best way to do it is jump on the phone.
Victoria, that slide that you showed
here in Auckland.
Pardon?
You haven't got offices here in Auckland.
We don't have offices anywhere, my lovely. That's the one thing we're very big on, is not having any offices, because what we found is that when you've got offices, you have to pay for them.
Yes.
And that takes away money from other things that are more important. And so, it's more important for us that we
Who's doing what?
yeah, that we have the money there for other
Yeah.
things rather than an office.
Can I share this screen with some of our members in Victoria? Would that be okay with you? That's what I wanted to ask. If some of our members come back and they do want to have a chat to you, am I able
Absolutely.
to give them this
Absolutely.
information?
Yes, yes, yes. Please do. Please do.
Awesome.
Yes,
If
please.
you can just send me this little PowerPoint, Victoria, that would be great. And if any of you, if any of our members who are here want this information, just email me and I'll forward the presentation on to you as well, because it's wonderful information just to have on hand also.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Not a problem at all.
Thank you,
Vidal,
Victoria.
did you have a question, did you?
Victoria, where we can have information about a good diet to avoid if we have any symptoms, what diet we should follow, what kind of food we should avoid.
Ooh, there's the $64 million question, isn't it, Nadal?
Sorry.
I think as with a lot of kind of preventive measures and things like that, as far as diet goes, a lot of it is around keeping it, kind of as whole and as natural as we can, staying away from foods that have got huge amounts of preservatives and additives and huge sugar. And remember that at the moment there are 50 different names for sugar that they will use on packaging. So you've got to be a pretty good sleuth to be able to figure out all of it. So, kind of keeping a diet as kind of whole as possible. Now, that's not to say, you can't have the odd, biscuit or chocolate or the odd takeaway or I don't know.
Be careful. We have to be
but I
careful
think it's
with
just
this.
it's keeping things like fruit and veggies really good in your diet. It's keeping things like good quality meat and all those pulses and legumes and things like that, yogurt and cheese and all of those kind of things. Not smoking, not drinking to excess. Again, it's not about completely stopping it. It's about, kind of keeping it within, lower ranges rather than bigger ones. So
Thank you.
Can I say something about drinking? Brought up all my life as a Methodist and basically TT, but then I go to the hospital and they say you must drink alcohol. That's brilliant. So they say that 1 glass of red wine with your dinner every day is the best thing you can have. So that's what we have.
For some people, Brian, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think the thing is that we need to remember everyone is different. So having a blanket clause for everybody is sometimes not entirely appropriate. We'll more than happily have a glass of red wine.
Yes.
The odd night, with my meal, and that's okay. For other people, that is not okay, and it depends again on how you've been brought up, and or just a whole raft of different things. But we need to remember that we're individuals, that we've been created individually, and that all of our systems are going to react quite differently, kind of as we go along.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Victoria? No? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much, Victoria, for coming on board. Thank you for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge with us. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate you just coming on board this morning, just for sharing everything around bowel cancer, the prevention around it, and for everybody as well for sharing some of your stories. Thank you very, very much. If you are wanting to get in touch with Victoria, or if you do, want to give her an email or a phone call when she is, available and working as she is, working part-time, just feel free to email me and then I can forward that information on to you. Does that sound okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Victoria.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
everyone.
much,
Thank you
Victoria,
very
of course,
much.
and thank you for joining us all today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're more than welcome. I'll get the presentation sent out, so you'll have all of my details as well. And
Excellent.
anytime any of you've got any questions, please just yell. I'm more than happy to share whatever I can with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Victoria, and thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.